Aha!
Happy days. Happy days. Back to winter. I like winter because it means I can put my woolly hat back on and cover my big bald head. So yeah, show season's done. All the big shows are finished. Stamford Hall was great. Thanks to anybody who watched the video and liked it. A bit long, I know it was, but it was a busy show, busiest I've seen it. I think the show with the most classic minis. So yeah, just bear with me while I try and concentrate on this junction. So it's a bit mad. It's a bit mad. So this next video, is a bit of a warning. It's about the disc brake conversion kits you can buy. It's the cheaper ones where they don't come with the hubs. It's just the discs and the calipers and the pads to convert from an 8.4 inch disc setup, which gets used on 12 inch and 13 inch wheels. Allows you to modify those assemblies so you can fit 10 inch wheels on. I'm not saying this is for all suppliers, but I've got this conversion kit from a reputable supplier. I got it from Bingley Hall actually, and it doesn't work. There's a problem with it, and the worrying part is if you're a novice putting this together for the first time, and because you can still assemble it, it's just that the components aren't correctly engineered to fit together, so you could still assemble it wrong, and you could be putting yourself in a bit of danger, put yourself at risk. But I think you'll probably understand when you see the video. It's out of order really. I mean, yeah, these parts aren't the most expensive in the world. You know, you're not buying anything from specialist components or anything. You know, they are a budget, considered to be a budget item. They're still engineered components. They should fit together. There's no real excuse for making them in the way that they have. They haven't done their due diligence on the parts. They've been a little bit lazy, I think, by just buying these things in from wherever and just shipping them out without having any kind of inspection on there. So yeah, not good, but hopefully this video will help people look out for this. It might not be on all of them. Other suppliers might have got over this problem, but I know of it. I've heard about it before and I've witnessed it myself. So yeah, enjoy the video, and I'll try and get the next one done as soon as I can. Yep. Cheers then everybody. Right, let's have a look at this 7.5 inch disc brake conversion kit. As I mentioned before, what you get in the kit, you get the drive flange, which is this area here. I'll show you that separately once I've dismantled it. You get the disc, and then off camera you've got the caliper and the pads and a few little bits and bobs. You don't get all the back bit. You don't get the hub and the ball joints and the CV joint. It's just enabling you to convert from a 8.4 setup hub assembly into a 7.5 inch disc brake assembly to suit 10 inch wheels. The problem I've encountered is that this drive flange won't drop down far enough into the disc. And the reason that is that they have not been machined correctly to give enough clearance for the drive flange to drop over the swollen nature of the wheel studs. So let me explain a little bit more about what that means. If you did nothing about it and and just assembled it as you were given it, you have a problem. And the problem is, when you look on the back, there is no clearance between the back of the disc and the steering arm, the ball joint, and the hub itself. So as the wheel turns and the disc turns, it's going to be grinding itself against. I think you can just hear it grinding against. There's no clearance there because the drive flange can't draw the disc close enough to it and pull it away from this hub. So this is the one that I did earlier, as they say. For some reason you don't get these M6 screws in the kit, which is weird, so I've had to get those myself. So currently there's nothing now, when I've taken those two out, holding this disc to the main assembly. The only thing stopping it from coming off is the big castle nut and the washer behind it. So if I pull that off, nuts and washer, you'll see that this drive flange comes off. So that's your disc with the 4 bolts pressed in, and what you can see is the threaded part and then the little swollen nature at the bottom where it flares out, where it gets pressed into the hole in the disc. Now, putting the disc to one side, this drive flange sits over the CV joint and drops down and hits the face of the wheel bearing. So when you torque that up, it applies enough torque to make the wheel not wobble and also not overstress the bearings. So that has to go down and hit the face of the wheel bearing. What it also has to do is it has to drop over those 4 wheel studs and go all the way down. You can hear it because I've machined the back out. It goes all the way down. And that then allows that disc to remain clear of the hub behind it. So that is fixed, that's repaired. This one isn't. So what we've got to do is, on the back of the drive flange, where the four studs come through, wheel studs come through, we've got to allow for the swollen nature of the wheel studs. So swollen nature around these 4 has got to go into there, which it currently doesn't. So let's show you what I did to allow this all to fit together properly. Okay, to drill the back of this drive flange out, give a bit more clearance for those wheel studs, we need to hold it in place. So I've got to try and open up these 4 wheel stud holes at the back. I've can't get it in my vise to hold like that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this old CV joint, the nut and washer. I'm going to hold that in the vise instead. Get that tight, and I'm going to drop the dry flange onto it, and then to stop it from popping off, I'm just going to put the nut and washer on. Now, I don't want to go too mad with these holes. I don't want this dry flange to be all sloppy and moving about, so I only really want to take off the minimum that's required. So I'm lucky enough to have this this set of countersinks here. I think there's about 6 in the box, and they're not that expensive. They're quite handy because they're quite long, so you're not really you can get down without banging into anything with the chuck. So I'll put my glasses on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 2-stage approach. I'm not going to put it on the pillar drill because they're running too fast at the moment, and this is steel. So I'm going to go nice and slow with these countersink bits, and then I'm going to just open up and widen at the back these 4 holes. So let's see how I get on. So I'm not going all the way through. It's just the back portion I'm doing. I'm probably going about halfway through the thickness. So me doing that now has created a bit of a lip on this top edge because I'm bringing metal out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this small one over, and that was just slightly bigger than the hole, and I'm going to put this big fat one in, fattest one I've got. What I might do is I think I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go for the medium one first. See if I can recreate that swollen so I'm almost trying to do a stepped approach for the back of this. Now I'll go for the big fat one. So that's gone quite flat still. It's not got any burrs on it. I've just gone over those for the 4 other smaller holes there. Let's just wipe all this crap off here. And get one of these little bristle things. Just to push all that crap out. And let's just go and take this back upstairs and see if it's worked. Here we go. There's the disc. Let's see if this will drop all the way down onto it now. It was about, I'd say, 3mm off. it's moving around. There's a little tiny bit of play on that now, which there wasn't before. I mean, the reason there wasn't any play before is because these holes, these 4 holes, were literally wedging themselves onto the thickening out of these studs. So just by the fact that this is got that little bit of jiggle, which it won't have once these screws are held in and the wheels are all bolted on, so I'm not worried about that. But there's a definite metal to metal contact now, and that has sunk down further into the disc. So I think we've chewed enough off the back of that now. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, that will clamp together quite nicely. So after just opening up these back 4 holes, and that's sitting down flat, let's reassemble this. Let's stick the CV joint back through the hub. That slides on to a definite position, which is that shoulder there onto the back of the wheel bearing, creating the sandwich. That then will slide on through there. You can fasten these back together just to stop it all from falling apart. You can see how sloppy that is now, which is good, because when I put a couple of screws in here just to pull this disc onto the drive flange, it will hopefully give it enough clearance, the disc enough clearance at the back to stop it rubbing, which, as I showed you, was what was happening. So yeah, this disc is pulling further onto the drive flange. Spin this round, you can definitely see a gap now, and that rotates without touching anything at the back there, giving not much, it's only millimetres, but millimetres is better than it grinding on. So that's that one, that's that one. So yeah, a bit of disassembly on these, a bit of cleaning up, and then we can get these reassembled. I'll probably paint some of this part, obviously not the disc itself, but this is just steel and it'll rust. So if I can apply a bit of protection to this drive flange and the some of these other surfaces here where the pads don't touch, just to afford it a bit of protection. So that'll be next.